Hi everyone. It's a nice cold morning here in Japan, clear and cold. Having a nice warm pu'er by the heater. Firstly, I want to talk today about Keystones, which if you're following the Instagram, you will have seen me posting about recently. I've been working on Whirlpool for a while now, and if you've seen anything that I've posted or that we've been working on, it revolves around meditation, consciousness, health, and self-development, self-progress, self-growth, and how to use tools in your life and develop those tools to mold your life into the life that you want and that reflects who you really are. And obviously there are a huge range of traditional tools for this and contemporary tools. And it seems that the more time goes on, the more wide variety of tools and systems there are, which I think is a really good thing, because everyone's going to need a different approach or a variation on some approach in order to get into that self-awareness that you need to be healthy and balanced. Obviously there are kind of varying levels of depth that people go into in their different systems that they're usually selling. And that's fine too. Obviously there are people who get scared off when things seem too deep or too complicated or too independent or too free. But personally, I think it's important to be as free and go as deep as possible. And so that's who this is for, really. People who are already thinking for themselves, already have their own ideas about the world, and are looking for ways to draw the different parts of their life into a more cohesive and succinct rhythm or momentum, so that you're not wasting time on things that aren't going to contribute to your ultimate purpose or your deepest sense of creativity, your deepest sense of expression, and what drives your movement through the world. I think probably everyone watching this will have a sense of that, whether you can define it or not, and be looking for some new level of it or next steps to take with it. And that sounds quite vague. I mean, it's going to be different for everyone. So whether that expression comes out through your work or through your community or through a creative practice or an intellectual practice, you know, people who are into science or philosophy or mythology or literature. Every part of everyone's life is a form of expression in that way. It's just a matter of how aware we are that that is what's happening. But even for the most aware people and the most active and seeking and forward-moving people, maintaining a personal practice or a health practice or a meditation practice or a spiritual practice or even a creative practice can be something that it's hard to get a handle on, or it can be something that evades you, you know, like you can't get the motivation up, or you can't find time, or you can't organize all the different parts of your life so that they work together. And I think that's kind of a symptom of sensitivity or depth or intelligence. If you've got a wide scope, then it is going to be harder to arrange it all. If you can see levels of depth that perhaps people around you can't see, it's going to be more frustrating dealing with people whose behavior is ignorant of those deeper levels of meaning or of construct in your social life, or deeper levels of patterns of behavior. And so the point of Keystones is that there's a really simple practice that you can do that you don't really need to create time for or put thought into or put energy into, but which does give you new keys to opening up space in your life. Because ultimately the thing we all need is more space, more RAM in a sense, more space in which to process and understand all the different parts of our lives, because that's what we're really doing here. Whether or not you're doing something else within your life, like you might be busy, you might be working on 100 projects, or you might have one big ongoing project that you put all your energy into. But in any case, what we're trying to do here is find ways of engaging with the world that give us an understanding of the world in the perspective that we have in the world, which is different for each of us. And so there's never going to be anything to lose from adding more depth and perspective to what you're doing. And to put it conversely, refraining from deepening your perspective is always going to limit you. That doesn't mean studying every different possible avenue of knowledge. It's not really about knowledge. It's about being open to possibility and potential, because that opening of space is going to bring you the next steps in your project or your life journey or your understanding or your sense of meaning. And it is a story in the sense that it plays out in your life in a story. You arrange the things that happen to you and your experiences in terms of meaning that come in a story with characters and objects and colors and a sequence. And depending on the way you look at it or arrange it or choose to understand it, that might be a linear story or it might be a cyclic story. That's up to you. It's all valid and it's all cool and interesting. The point is really to make it cool and interesting. Keep it cool and interesting. Keep it being something that inspires you and not get wrapped up in what's right and wrong about it. And so I wanted to make something that really simple, really versatile and fundamental and basic, that highlights the storyness of life and uses that as a device to tap into consciousness by illuminating things in your life that you don't usually give attention to or give focus to. And again, it's not about thinking about things. You know, you don't have to look at every tree along the road and be like, what is that tree about? And I've been there. I used to be like that. I used to work in the bookstore and I would like stare at the bookshelves or like look at people and the way they moves and be trying to crack it all the time. And that's not really the point. Thinking about it is not really going to... The thinking itself is not what gets you there. I still do thinking as a pastime because I enjoy it. It's like entertainment to me. And I think it's doing the same thing that's happening when you're watching a movie, for example, but you do it yourself. And I think it's more potent in that way. But the thinking, I don't believe that the thinking itself is what gets me to the next step. But if I allow myself to just go with it and get carried away with it, like you do, like being in a flow state if you're drawing or singing or dancing or walking or whatever, then it allows me to create space and it create time for myself in which new possibilities can arise. And so how the Keystones work is, at the moment we're going to post one a week, and you can just keep it in the back of your mind for that week. especially if it resonates with you. But even if it doesn't, you just look at it, it'll just be in the back of your mind because you've seen it. You don't really have to do anything. And say that the keystone is wood, then every time you see wooden floor, it's just going to remind you that you saw that. And you see a wooden door, you see a tree. Maybe there's no wood in your environment, you see the lack of wood. You might see wood on TV. You might see a guy cutting down a tree on TV. There's a million different applications of how that word would crop up in your life. And then you get a kind of web of instances, sparks that cropped up in that landscape of your life, the wider field of your life. And it creates a non-linear space. It creates an open space that goes beyond the line that you trace through your day. Especially if you've got, say, a full-time job and it's quite repetitive, which I think the majority of people do, and that's fine. Your line through the day is going to be quite linear. It's going to be quite recognizable because it's the same, because you repeat it often. And so having something that's outside of your habit, just illuminating little bits of information, is going to create a new sense of space in your memory and in your mind. And it really doesn't matter what the key is. It matters that it has that effect. Because when you come to, say, approach a problem that you don't know how to solve, you're going to have a new sense of space from which to approach it in. And it sounds a bit abstract, but it's actually physical in a sense as well. Because space is in your mind, it's in your brain, it's a map of the world that you use to be able to navigate the world. So when you do something different with your mind, and even something really simple like this that uses your sense of meaning to create a new network of patterns in space, in that map of space, then you're not in the same ruts of thinking that you are in your everyday life, in that straight line that you trace through your day. So when you come to a problem, your brain starts immediately firing off the same patterns that it does every day, because that habit is ingrained. But if you're doing something different to expand the foundation of your thinking outside of that, then there's new circuits to run through. So I would really encourage people to just give this a go. If you're following our Instagram, they'll just pop up for you naturally, automatically. And you don't have to do anything. And how this links into Whirlpool's mission and the other practices and services that we're going to have available over the year is that it has a function similar to meditation or even mindfulness, but I would say that it's not as it's a bit more dynamic than mindfulness. I feel like mindfulness is quite it's like a shallow version of meditation, but I know that a lot of people are intimidated by meditation, even if they're interested in it, because I don't know, they've got a specific image that makes it seem hard, or they've got a resistance to it, probably rooted in not wanting to go outside of your comfort zone or whatever. I mean, that all just comes from the habits being ingrained, but it's the habits that are what we want to change. It's changing the habits that changes your potential. So it's kind of a way of saying you don't have to do a full-on meditation practice in order to have effects. And even it's the effect that we want. You don't have to do it in the way of meditation. You don't have to sit down for 2 hours. I would, even though I recommend that, that's the kind of practice that I do most regularly. But it's only for people who it's going to work for. And so it's better to focus on the effect, the outcome that you're trying to get out of meditation, rather than the practice. Because that's just, it's going to become a different form of attachment, and then you're not really creating a new pattern or a new depth if you're always stuck on the the meditation as an object. And along those same lines, the group that we're starting, Dank Meditation, is for that same purpose. It's called Dank Meditation, and it is about meditation, but it's not about any specific type of meditation. It's saying that the space that you're trying to access with meditation is always there anyway. You're not trying to go somewhere different, or you're not trying to leave yourself behind. You're trying to tap into that fundamental space of consciousness that is always there. And so it's a bit of a fine line, but it doesn't have to be through meditation. It can be through anything. And if anything, the point of meditation is to give you a sense of what awareness feels like, what awareness itself is like, so that when you're being aware of something else, like this video, or having a cup of tea, or whatever, looking at the window out the bus, it's my cat, then it always reminds you of your awareness. And so that's what Keystones are doing. It's not reminding you of wood, because you don't need to know about wood unless you want to. It's letting you know about awareness. It just gives you something to remind yourself, something to focus on to remind yourself about awareness. It's almost like a placebo. It's like planting a seed, and it could be any seed, but what grows is always awareness. And ultimately, I want it to activate the space of your life so that everything in your life becomes like a guided meditation. I don't know if everyone's done guided meditations before that have kind of a narrative, like an alchemical narrative kind of thing that triggers your mind. It uses your sense of meaning to kind of work your mind and your sense of imagery. And then it can have effects in your attitude or your emotions or your awareness or your body that feed over into your life, like self-hypnosis, guided meditations and stuff. Because that's what the world is for us already. So the more that we can access that directly without relying on media and, kind of artificial virtual space, not only the more smooth and accessible the world becomes, not only is it going to be easier to work with the world, to make it into a place that you want to be in and to get what you want out of life, but it makes it more beautiful and amazing and enjoyable. The the entertainment and the excitement and the wonder that you're trying to get out of whatever it is you do in your life. Maybe you're trying to get it out of spirituality, or maybe you're trying to get it out of Netflix, or whatever your whatever you do for recreation. That is in the world itself. So the really potent thing about meditation is that you come to be able to get wonder, the sense of wonder and inspiration and excitement from nothing, from almost nothing. And you see that that is there anyway. And so if all you need for a sense of wonder and inspiration is this small, this much of a spark of inspiration to light up your whole sense of meaning and your sense of purpose, then everything that you do is going to have more color, more meaning, more significance, and more relationship to everything else you do. Everything becomes something that lights up and inspires you. And the point that I really want to get across, though, is that there's no outcome that you're going to, that I can tell you that you're going to get. The outcome is what grows in your unique, specific sense of inspiration and creativity. And so if I give you the keystone of wood, or anyone could give you one, it could be orange or it could be book, you're only going to see a pattern of examples that trigger that memory for you, that represents and reflects to you your unique sense of meaning and sense of inspiration. That's so cool. You know, you and your friend could be doing it and just be seeing completely different things. And it shows to you how unique your world is and how magical it is that you're seeing all these different things, because they are actually unique to you in the way that they come to you. And that's what is so cool and inspiring about life. So if you're interested in going a bit further than Instagram and or YouTube, there's a sign up page for Dank Meditation on the Whirlpool website, which I'll put a link in the video description. And yeah, follow the Instagram to see those keystones coming up. And we're going to have a similar practice coming up soon, which is using sigils, but in a more self-interpretive way. So not sigils with a specific meaning, but sigils that you embed in your sense of meaning and watch those meanings and possibilities unfold. So keep an eye out for that as well. And I would love to hear from people in the comments, or if you want to comment on Instagram or send me a message, or send a message to Ari. Yeah, we would love to hear from you.